Hi guys, Jim's Garage here. I just wanted to give you an update on where I'm at and show you what I'm getting ready to get started. Also, I'd like to thank everyone for the interest in the videos. I've been pretty surprised at how many folks have been interested and commented and appreciated the information. So thanks to you guys for showing some interest, and I'm going to do my best to bring you some more content and keep you up to date. I haven't gotten to the heads as soon as I would have liked. I had some other things to get done to the car. I was trying to keep it driving for the summer, and a few of the things that I did, I swapped in a 5-speed transmission. It was a BorgWarner T5 out of a 91 Camaro, I believe. I have pictures of that swap, and I can put that in a short little video and do a little show and tell if you guys would like. It was an awesome upgrade, actually. The bell housing bolted right to my small block Chevy. I just had to get the appropriate clutch and flywheel, and that was not a big issue at all. I ended up going with a McLeod. It wasn't a Street Pro, it was the middle range one. I believe it was rated for 450 horsepower, and then just a standard nodular iron flywheel. I didn't do anything special for that, but so far I've been really happy with the transmission. It's enabled me to enjoy the car more. The main reason is fifth gear is an actual overdrive. So I can get on the freeway and not be spinning 3,000 RPM trying to keep up with traffic. So that's made the car a lot easier to take out on cruises, particularly if you got to get on the freeway anywhere. The other thing I did is I did a full exhaust system, and that was actually because I rebuilt the rear end. I'll get into that in a second. So I ended up getting a Pipes 3-inch crossover dual muffler system. Very happy with it. It's been a great system. It was a complete bolt-on kit. I'll get pictures of that as well, and if you guys want to see some more video of that, I can give you a quick rundown. The big thing that I got done was rebuilding the rear end. The old one that came in the car, it was going bad, and I was doing some research, and the particular rear end that was in this guy wasn't worth rebuilding. So what I did end up finding out was that the GM 10 bolt, it changed after 1970, and in 71 they went to what's called the corporate. Some of you might already know what that is, and essentially they put some 12 bolt parts inside of a 10 bolt housing, and that made the rear end much more capable. I'm not saying it's as strong as the 12 bolt. I know that those things, they're pretty damn stout, and it's nowhere close to like a Ford 9-inch. I would say it's comparable to, say, a Ford 8.8. It's a similar style, and the ring gear is very close. This particular one has an 8.5-inch ring gear, and it has the pinion size of what was in the 12 bolt. So that's part of the reason I went with that. The other reason was also parts availability. I went to Quick Performance to get everything I needed. I got a full rebuild kit. I actually upgraded the axles. I went with a 30 spline unit, and I got a matching 30 spline carrier, and ended up going with a Positrack made by Detroit. It is their True Track series. Also been very happy with all that. It's made the car much more reliable, and I have much more confidence in the rear end as well. I ended up changing the gear set as well. Went to a 373, and I did some math. A buddy and I, we worked up a Excel table where we could input the gear ratios, the final ratio, and tire size to figure out a pretty close estimate on what your mile per hour would be in a certain gear at a certain RPM. So that helped me decide on my gear set, and so far I've been really happy with it. At some point I'll get the car up on jack stands, and I'll show you everything I've done underneath it. Like I said, with the rear end change, I ended up having to upgrade the exhaust system a bit sooner than I wanted. It was an older cross-flow type muffler. It's the one where it sits right behind the rear end and the gas tank, and I put a reinforcement girdle on the rear end, and I'll show you guys that in another video. And the studs from that reinforcement cover were gouging into the muffler, and I couldn't adjust things enough to get it to clear. So I was going to go with a new exhaust system at some point anyway, so I decided to go ahead and get that done now. So all those things that I was doing were part of the reason that the heads got put off, because I was doing work to try to keep the car drivable so I could enjoy it for the summer. now that winter's come and the weather's nasty outside, I'm going to start tearing into the heads, and I've got some stuff set up here I'm going to show you, and I've got the heads prepped to start assembly. And I also got some other parts that I picked up over the season to show you guys what's going into my projects. So here we go. So one of the things I did to prep the heads is I went ahead and sandblasted them and I painted them. Needed to do something to protect the metal that was going to be exposed, and I decided to go with the classic Chevy orange. Hopefully it's a close enough match to my engine block that it's not glaringly obvious, but I just went to an auto parts store and I got it right here actually. Just a duplicolor engine paint. Says it's Chevy orange, so should be close. I didn't want to leave them black like they came off of the L31 engine. It would have looked definitely a junkyard build. So got those cleaned up, ready to go, and sandblasting actually got some of the ports pretty cleaned up. Got a lot of that carbon deposit taken out of there, so things are looking pretty good. Went ahead and retouched the valve seats after I sandblasted just to make sure everything was good, and I got things laid out and prepped to assemble. I got all my new valve springs here, courtesy of Russell at Diabolical Racing, and I got everything set up. I got my exhaust springs there and my intake springs there. The recommended install height that he has listed there for me, that's specific to my cam. I sent him the information off my cam card, so this is going to be tuned to my cam and my engine. Don't necessarily reference these installed height numbers for your application. They'll be specific for whatever you're doing. But this is just me setting up things to organize. I got all my exhaust springs set together. Russell was kind enough to color code them so that if I somehow do get things mismatched, I know that's an exhaust spring because the top is silver there, and on the intake ones, they are just the blue. He said that he matched the retainers here with the spring, so when he sent everything to me, everything was individually packaged, so I'm doing my best to be able to keep things together as he sent them to me so that as I start the install process, it's going to work the way he designed it to. I got my instructions laid out here, which I'm going to be going over. I'm not going to bore you and read this off, but I got all my shims lined out here. I'm going to put them in these magnetic trays and probably just set the tray on top of the envelope so I know which is which as I start to go through my shimming to get my installed heights. Got my locks there and my new valve seals. Went ahead and cleaned off the workbench real well, so hopefully everything will go together smoothly. A couple of the parts that I picked up over the summer season, I scored an awesome deal here on some autometer gauges that, well, for one, I definitely needed because the only gauges I had in the car were the fuel gauge and the speedometer. And right now the speedometer doesn't work since my transmission change, but I got to get the correct gear tooth for the transmission to read out. But this is something that I definitely needed and wanted. Vital information such as RPM and oil pressure, those are things that are mandatory in my mind for a project like this. So very happy that I got these. Looking forward to putting them together. I picked up I'm going to build my own dash panel. Probably something similar to what you've seen on, I think it's Custom Works. They build a really nice dash panel, and if I end up incapable of making something that is functional and with some form, I'll probably just go to their website and order their insert. It's a real nice CNC piece. It's pre-bent. It's got all the holes for whatever gauges you're running. So that'll be something that I'm going to be putting together probably before I start up the engine with the new heads and cam, because I'm going to need to know my oil pressure and RPM for the cam break-in. One of the other things I'm pretty stoked about, found myself a Holley HP. This is a 750 CFM vacuum secondary. I went with the vacuum secondary because talking with some folks that know more than myself, the mechanical secondary, you can make it work on the street, but it can be a little bit finicky. And if you don't know what you're doing, which I am one of those people right now, it can be frustrating if you don't know how to tune it. The vacuum secondary, inside here there's a spring and a diaphragm, if you will, and it's automatic. So based on the spring that you have in here determines when the secondary is open, based on the vacuum inside of your intake manifold. So tuning it, while yes, you still change jets and whatnot, for the timing of when you get the secondaries to open is a simple adjustment with this cap comes off and you change the spring in there. And it makes the car a little bit easier to tune for street driving. It should still be a high performance unit. As you can see, there's no choke horn here. I got an older unit to reference. So the choke horn on this guy's been cut off. This was one that I thought I was going to rebuild, but it's pretty far gone, and I just happened to get a really good deal on this guy. So, but the HP, as you can see, all the really nice radiused openings in the air inlets here, along with the down leg boosters versus the straight leg boosters, and then on a normal one you'd have this choke horn here. So this should be a bit of an upgrade, and also just it being newer and pretty fresh. I do have a rebuild kit for it. I'll go ahead and document that as well, but I'm just going to rebuild it just to make sure everything is good to go. But so this is what I got coming up. I'm going to be working on this in my spare time. I might get some done this weekend. One of the other things I decided to do, I thought it would be interesting, and because I got a lot more feedback on my channel than I thought I would, I'm going to go ahead and dyno the car as it is. There's a new shop here in my town. They have a chassis dyno, and I thought it would be a cool idea to go and run it as it is right now, with the truck heads and the old Carter AFB carb, just to see what it does. I'm not expecting to be surprised. Honestly, if I'm going to guess, I would be I'd be kind of astonished if it got 250, 275 wheel horsepower. With the differential losses, that would put the engine above 300 at the crank. I don't think it's there. I don't know, might be, but for some reason I think it's not. So the idea is figure out where it is right now. Then come back, put all this stuff in along with my cam, my new intake, all the speed parts. Get it put back together, get it broken in, make sure everything's running good, get the carburetor tuned, make sure I'm not fouling my plugs or running too lean, and go back and see what the new power number is. That way we can sort of quantify the effort that I put into these, see what we got out of it. And remember, these are junkyard heads. I went into my local salvage yard, pulled these off of I think it was a 2001 1500. Cleaned them up myself, did that little bit of pocket porting, nothing major. You've probably seen that video. And it's the cam I'm going to be putting in. It's a replica of the old Z28 cam. If I remember correctly, it's 254 at 50 with 485 lift and I can't remember if it's 112 or 114 degree lobe separation angle. But in any case, it's a Howard's cam. It's supposed to be similar to the old Z28. And I think with the Vortec heads and my intake and that new carb, I should hit the 400 mark. That's what I'm going for. If anything above that, bonus in my mind. So just thought I'd let you guys know where I'm at. Hopefully I get all this going well. I will be documenting the process on, I gotta get the installed height. I'm gonna be videoing that, show you guys how I do the install. I'll have it set up. I'll do the best I can to make it somewhat informative and not just me rambling. And I'll show you guys how I get these things put together, and I'll go through the whole process of getting them swapped onto the car as well. I'll show you the disassembly process and getting the new cam in and all that sort of stuff. One of the oddities that I got not sure if I'm gonna like this or not. I got a gear drive for the cam. I know they're noisy, but I got this a few years ago because I thought it would be really cool. I don't know if I'm still going to think that after I get it put in. We'll see though. But I have it and I'm going to give it a shot. Hopefully it's not totally obnoxious, but anyway, we'll see when we get there. So there you go, everyone. That's what's coming. And I will take video of the dyno run when I get it done. I'm hoping to do that, I don't know, maybe next week. Got the holidays coming up, so it might have to wait till after the new year, but that's what's in store. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Looking forward to the likes and the comments that you guys have coming. Oh, one other thing. I have been reading most of the comments. I try to respond to most folks. One of the things a lot of folks have talked about, they recommend the LS6 style valve springs. And I'm not going to talk bad about those at all. I don't have any experience, and I'm not saying they can't be used, but this is just the route that I chose to go because in my mind it seemed a little bit safer. At least I should say that it seems safer for me because I don't have enough knowledge to pick my valve spring based on my camshaft and RPM range and all that. I don't have the knowledge to say, oh, I have X, Y, and this Z valve spring is going to work. That's why I got a hold of Russell, and that's why I'm trusting him, because I gave him all that information, and he sent me springs that are supposed to work for my application. So if for those folks that keep wondering why I didn't choose the LS6 springs, that's why. It's simply because I don't know if and how well they would work with my chosen camshaft. I'm not saying they can't work, but I just didn't know. That's the main reason. And there's been a lot of other suggestions too that folks have been throwing out some part numbers, I think from Crane and Comp, and that's totally cool. You know, I would love to do a valve spring shootout. I mean, if I somehow could set up valve springs from what everyone is recommending and have like half a dozen different valve springs to try, I would totally do it. It'd take a ton of time, but it would be a very interesting dyno run in my mind. It'd probably be one that'd be better done on a engine dyno, not necessarily the chassis, but it would be some pretty interesting results just to see what happened with the only variable being the valve springs, like running the same cam, same lifters, same rockers, all that, just changing the valve springs. But that seemed like a frequent question that I wanted to address there. Hope that it satisfies why I made the choice I did. So, and for those folks that recommended all those different other valve springs, that's totally cool. I'm not gonna knock you. You might know something that I don't, but I'm just a guy trying to have a little bit of fun with my hot rod. So, all right, I'll hopefully be making another video soon. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Oh, and happy holidays.